Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the third annual College and Career Pathways Summit. My name is James Wright, CEO of the Classroom of the Future Foundation. It's wonderful to be with you all here today at beautiful National University. Can we give a round of applause for our host, National University? So 3 years ago, we convened our first annual College and Career Pathways Summit. And the purpose of that first event was really to raise awareness of the tremendous need for us to transform our schools and expand college and career pathways for all students. We were really pleased that following that event, there was numerous connections and great momentum for the work that was built. And so last year, we came together again to share out the tremendous investment that the San Diego County Office of Education, local school districts, and our business community and local foundations were making in this space. And over this last year, we've seen a record number of businesses step up. Companies in the room today like Sony Electronics and Illumina convened teacher externships for numerous teachers throughout the county. Let's give them a round of applause. And businesses throughout the county that stepped up to support our local districts. And so today we're here really to move this transformation forward and have this important dialogue of really how can we work together to expand college and career pathways for all students. Now we have a really great program in store for you today. But before I go any further, I want to encourage you all to post on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. The hashtag for today is CareerPS18. So please use that today, throughout the day. I'd like to start by thanking someone that really made this reception possible. Where's Jane? Jane, could you stand up? So, as many of you know, Jane Schlossberg is the operations manager for the Classroom of the Future Foundation, and this summit would not have happened without her hard work and dedication. So thank you, Jane. We also have numerous volunteers here today helping us, many of whom are from the Navy Medical Center of San Diego. So I want to say thank you to all of our volunteers. I also want to thank Dr. Nancy Rowland Heinrich, one of our board members and the president of pre-college programs here at National University. Nancy, thank you. Thank you to Dr. Andrews, Dr. Cunningham, the entire National University team that made planning this event so easy for the organization. Thank you. I'd like to thank two of our premier sponsors for today's event, Journeys and the World of Work Network. Let's give them a round of applause. I'd also like to thank our other summit sponsors here today, SDG&E, Cox Communications, the USS Midway Museum, Jack in the Box, Connect Ed, SeaWorld, California Coast Credit Union, Paxton Patterson, North Island Credit Union, HP, Mission Federal Credit Union, Hovercam, ThinkRight, CALSA, Peterson Hill Marketing, Lumio, and of course the San Diego County Office of Education. Let's give them all a big round of applause. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our moderator for today's program. We're fortunate to have back with us a real pro, an individual that has over 40 plus years in journalism, including roles as spokesperson for the San Diego Union-Tribune, sports editor, public and community relations, an fantastic internet radio host, and an individual really that has been deeply committed to the Classroom of the Future Foundation. He currently serves on our advisory board, former CFF board chair, many years on our board, and someone that has really been an inspiration to this organization in pushing us to continue to expand college and career pathways for all students. So let's give a big round of applause, making a return appearance, Drew Schlossberg.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. That's pretty good for the first time. We'll try that again. Good morning. Good morning. All right, we're starting to get a heat up over here. Thanks, James, and I appreciate you folks all coming out. And I know you all have warp speed schedules. I think you'll enjoy today. It's all going to be about transformation. And we know that's not easy with the schools, and thanks to the leadership that's in this room, from the superintendents to the board members to the assistant soups and the principals and so forth and the business leaders. We know it's so critical to do it. And it's college and career not college or career. And I think we're going to see some great things happening. We already are in those great schools of yours right now. But before we start announcing some of the key folks that are in the audience over here that'll be speaking, will all of the superintendents stand up, please? And let's give them a round of applause. Do not be shy. I know you're not shy. Woo! So I'm not sure who stood up, 5 to 10 of them, whatever. And when you think about it, 42 school districts, 43 if you count the County Office of Education. That's quite a showing. So thank you so much. You're really, sending your good wishes to all of us over here. All the board members that are in the county offices and school districts, stand up. I know you're here. Paulette, where are you, Paulette? All right, round of applause. And there's another board member over there, another board member. Very good. So, one of the things that we're so appreciative here is a great lineup of speakers. You're going to hear from Dr. Charles Steinberg, a longtime colleague of mine. I won't say how long, but it was a while ago. He was instrumental in bringing Petco Park to San Diego with a Prop C. He's now the president of the Pawtucket Red Sox. He's worked for the Red Sox itself, the LA Dodgers, and you're going to hear some great stories from him. Also from the San Diego County Office of Education, Superintendent Paul Gothold. Paul, why don't you stand up and give yourself a wave over there? The president of Connect Ed is with us, the California Center for College and Career, Dr. Gary Hochländer. Gary, why don't you give a wave? A long time ago, my colleague Rob Atterbury and I were working for San Diego City Schools. They barely had running water, I think, when we were there. And Rob was in charge of school-to-work transition. And, we did a project called Pipeline 616, grades 6 through 16. Well, we just happened to be 27 years ahead of ourselves. And it was a partnership between San Diego City Schools, San Diego State, the PIC at the time, now the Workforce Partnership, and we're happy to have Peter Sibley in the audience. Peter, why don't you give a wave? He's the CEO of the Workforce Partnership. Peter, give yourself a wave. That's you. That's right. And what? Oh, did I say Peter Sibley? Sorry, Peter Kallstrom. I'm sorry about that. Peter Sibley, Peter Kallstrom, thank you very much.
You messed with the screen.
I did, okay. I messed with the screen over here. That's why you shouldn't put the thing over here. And then also with City College. And this partnership was to get a pathway for all of the students that they could go to either college and career, and now college and career in this aspect of it. As James had mentioned, we could not do this without some of the great generous support of the Journeys team. So we got Peter Sibley and we got Scott Sibley. And if you can stand up and take a wave on this for everybody too. Want to also really our thanks to the network, World of Work network partners, Cajon Valley Union School District, Vida Navis, Nepris, Anywhere, and the Educators Cooperative. So for all the sponsors who have given up your time and your treasure to come here, thank you so much. Now it is my pleasure to go ahead and introduce longtime friend of A Classroom of the Future. She's on the board. Anybody who's been around town knows you'll see her at so many different events. National University has been benevolent in so many different ways. It's my pleasure to welcome to the podium the president of pre-college programs for National University, Dr. Nancy Roland Heinrich.
Good morning, and it's very exciting to see such a wonderful turnout for our third annual Career and College Pathways Summit. And it really is important that we focus on college and careers because it gives our students in our K-12 districts different options. And as a university who's very committed to lifelong learning, we see a lot of our own students who have worked in the field, go back to school, get their bachelor's degree, then later get their master's degree, and it just provides many options. But National University has now been in existence for 47 years, and I am proud to have been with the university for almost 39 of those years. So to have the opportunity to watch a small regional university grow into a very expansive higher education institution throughout the state is exciting. And probably what we're most proud of is our relationship with the K-12 community. National University is working with 1,100 school districts throughout the state. So we're pleased. I know we have some of our alum here today, and some of those are superintendents, such as Dr. Glover. And he and his brother both have their masters from National, but we're very proud to be able to be providing a lot of fabulous teachers, administrators, and counselors to the school districts. And then many of our other academic disciplines with over 100 degree programs provide opportunities for working adults, for the military. Was very pleased to see the Navy here this morning. And we're just very proud to be in and of the community, and it's just always a pleasure to be able to represent National, and especially on days like today when we have such an impressive group. So thank you very much for being here. We hope you have a fabulous day. We really do have a great lineup of speakers, and I think that you'll learn a lot about some of the exciting and innovative aspects of what's going on in our K-12 community, leading to the careers of the future and college opportunities of the future. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Nancy Roland Heinrich at National University. My pleasure to introduce the superintendent of the San Diego County Office of Education, Paul Gotthold, and he's been here a little more than a year or so and just done amazing things, has really reconfigured the county office. There's a hip to everybody's hop over there, to say the least. And one of the things that you'll know about Paul, if you spend any time with Paul, we say this all the time when he's speaking, it's not just those kids, it's not these kids, it is all kids. And so it is my honor to introduce the county superintendent, Paul Gotthold.
Thank you so much. The only thing I would add to that is that they're our kids. They are our kids, every single one of them. And I am a huge fan of Career Tech Ed, a huge fan of this work, and I can't thank the Foundation, Classroom of the Future, our community partners, National, and everyone else who's a part of this, and really look forward to seeing our kids showcase what they are doing. Just to expand a little bit, I want to also thank our board member who's here, our Vice President Paulette Donnellan, and thank superintendents in the room who I'm proud to call colleagues and friends. I learn from them all the time, and it's just such a blessing to be able to work with such outstanding people. And also our Career Tech Ed and Innovation folks are here as well. And just to put things into perspective, with the partnership with the United Way Community Colleges Workforce Partnership Act, we developed 18 new Career Tech Ed pathways through 11 districts just last year alone. So that's a pretty big accomplishment, and a lot of those conversations started in this room. So please give yourselves a round of applause for expanding this necessary work. I want to expand a little bit on this notion of college and career that has been thrown around, not college or career. And really how we define that as a county office, and I'm sure a lot of this came from our founding fathers at Link Learning, formerly known as Connect Ed, is the moral imperative to prepare every child for college. And if they choose not to go, it's going to be their choice and not the system. However, I'm shifting that a little bit, because as we know, and if you've talked to anyone about the projection and demand for skilled labor, just about everything requires post-secondary education now. And that's really how we're defining college, is post-secondary education. I am a huge fan of the trades, but I think something got lost in translation decades ago when we started sorting and categorizing kids based on adults' perceptions of what they could and could not do. And if you were academic, you go over here. If you weren't, then you go over here. We have got to get out of that. I don't know why we still offer courses that aren't A through G eligible. We need to stop. And this isn't a San Diego problem. By the way, there's districts ahead of the curve. This is a national problem. And for us, when kids have, this is my experience, you raise the expectations for children, they're going to thrive. And if you want to be a pipe fitter, if you want to go into construction, what is the harm that they can write a research paper that they can compute and they can communicate. And if they do decide later on in life, which many of our children do, to go back to college and further education, they are prepared. So career tech ed isn't about preparing a kid for a particular career field. If I were to poll the business and industry leaders in the room, at least what they've been saying since 1991 or 92 when I started in this business, they're not coming with the appropriate skills. They used to call them scan skills. Is anybody old enough to remember? We migrated to 21st century skills, into life skills. Career Tech Ed is about relevancy. We provide them with the right skill set, and they see traditional subjects and topics that come to life through our Career Tech Ed programs. They thrive in all academics. It's kind of like that arts phenomenon. So what we are really promoting, we want kids to have industry experience, all aspects of it. Career Tech Ed isn't a high school thing. It starts in elementary school, and you'll see some amazing examples how some of our elementary kids are promoting Career Tech Ed and innovation. We are at full economy. A lot of behavioral economists are saying that the next round of employment comes from innovation. So part of our work as a county office is also to make sure our kids have those opportunities to take a look at global community problems and develop solutions for them. Do all kids have those learning opportunities? Many do through Career Tech Ed pathways, but I will tell you, right now, 80% of our patents come from our most affluent areas. So part of the moral imperative for us is to make sure that all children have access to these learning opportunities throughout the county. So when we say college and career, it is college and career. It is absolutely about that. Graduation from high school can no longer be a target. A diploma doesn't get much anymore. So by doing career exploration, by having learning opportunities that are tied to real-world experiences, to what industry expects, we hope to shorten that disconnect between what business and industry is asking for and what our kids are coming to the table with. And we're excited to take a group of superintendents to the Bay Area in a few weeks to visit some businesses and schools in Silicon Valley, just to hear from them about what it is they're looking for when they hire. I don't care if you're in a health technician pathway, advanced manufacturing, the skills that you get from those experiences can be transferred anywhere. So we look across the county. Does every kid have access to these learning opportunities? If the answer is no, we have work to do. Does every child walk through our stage with a diploma in hand with options? If the answer is no, then we have work to do. But I'm excited to take it on with you, and I'm really excited to further our partnerships with everybody here to knock it out of the park and do whatever it takes to help our kids. Thank you so much.
Paul Gothold, wonderful job. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Gary Hooklander. You talk about true transformation. That's what Connect Ed is all about. And again, it's not an easy chore. He's got some great success stories to talk about with Claremont and so forth. But I know you're going to enjoy his talk, and we all want to be working shoulder to shoulder to really transform all of these schools. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Gary Hooklander.
Thank you, Drew, and thank you, Paul. Good morning, everybody. My role at Connected is primarily one of cheerleader. And those of you who know the law of cheerleading know that it means that nothing is impossible for the person who does not have to do it. It's people like Paul, it's people like Cheryl Hiblin, Al Love, all of you who really do this work, and I just cannot say how grateful I am for what you do to really help transform education and make the kinds of opportunities that Paul was just presenting to us accessible to every single kid. That is the goal. This is fundamentally about equity. At ConnectEd, we love to celebrate student work. And at the end of every school year, my colleague Rob Atterbury has been instrumental in this, we try to organize showcases that bring together students and teachers and parents and employers and give students an opportunity to share the projects on which they've been working during the school year. So a couple of years ago, we had a showcase in Long Beach. We had all of our Southern California districts present. Among them was a group of students in the digital media arts pathway at Hollywood High School. Their project for the year was to design a 2-minute video trailer that they could use to pitch a documentary to studio executives in Hollywood. And there was a group of students, 4 students, they worked in teams of 4, who had chosen to do a trailer on the history of racial segregation in Los Angeles. And so in their English class, they wrote the script for their video, but they also read The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. And in their social studies class, they read and they discussed and they analyzed Brown versus Board of Education and the Kerner Commission report, which this year celebrates, if it's a celebration, its 50th year anniversary. In their math class, they learned how to use statistics and means and variance to determine whether statistical differences between groups were significantly significant or not. And in their physics class, they learned about the physics of light and lenses and how cameras work. And then in their videography class, they learned how to design a storyboard and how to shoot video and edit it and put all of this together into this 2-minute trailer. And they had it, and it was playing on a monitor in front of me. It was fabulous. And I asked the kids, I said, well, to whom did you get to pitch your video? And they said, oh, we got to pitch it to the vice president of MTV. Yeah, I said, whoa. I said, well, what was the most important thing he had to tell you? They didn't miss a beat. They looked at me and they said, he told us, spelling matters. And like you, their teachers laughed and they said, you know, we tell them that all the time. But until they heard it from the vice president of MTV, they didn't really believe us. And that, in a nutshell, is what a really high-quality, comprehensive college and career pathway looks like. There's no one right way to do this. There are wrong ways to do it, but there's no one right way. But however you choose to do it, there are, from our perspective, sort of 4 core components that need constant attention. Number 1 is the academic core, the math, the science, the English, the social studies, the world language, and here's the hard part, taught differently. Emphasizing real-world application and helping kids better understand, why do I need to know this? That's a fair question. And we don't very often give kids very good answers. The second component is a cluster or sequence of career and technical education. Career and technical education is a core component of college and career pathways, but this is not just a career and technical education initiative. This is about high school transformation. And the third component, and you'll hear so eloquently from Charles about this, is work-based learning, a continuum of work-based learning experiences. And finally, attention to personalized student supports that attend to social emotional learning, college and career counseling, and perhaps most importantly, accelerated instruction in reading, writing, and mathematics. Because we have too many kids coming into 9th grade who are not adequately prepared, and if we don't attend to that, we're setting them up to fail. All of this is organized around major industry themes like engineering, law and justice, biomed, agriculture, education. We forget. You know, we're the 3rd largest industry in the United States. We don't communicate that to our kids very well. The purpose of the theme is not even to encourage kids to select a career in 9th grade. The purpose of the theme is to provide meaning for both the academic and the technical foundation that we want them to master, that hopefully will allow them to do any number of things which none of us can yet predict. And so it's my distinct pleasure to be able to join with all of you here in San Diego to help move this work forward and make college and career, lasting success in college and career, a realization for every single young person. Before I step down, I just want to take a moment to recognize and thank my colleague, Rob Atterbury. Rob works with ConnectEd, has now for many, many years. He's based here in San Diego. We could not possibly do this work without Rob. And I think those of you who know him just know how committed he is to San Diego and making this work a realization for everybody in the county. So Rob, my thanks to you.
And I will definitely second that. Gary, nicely done over here. It's my pleasure to bring up New Trent. Come on up, New, and you can bring up your colleague, Dr. Charles Steinberg. You can come up as well over here. We'll save some time on this. I've known New for a long time. Couldn't be that long. She's so young. But when she started at the Padres, she'll tell that story. Now she's the community relations manager for SDG&E, and like National University, they are everywhere, doing great things in our community for youth, young adults, and everyone. And my pleasure to introduce my longtime friend and colleague, New Trent.
Thank you, Drew. At SDG&E, our mission is to improve lives and communities by building the cleanest, safest, and most reliable energy company in America. And we're proud to be a longtime supporter of Classroom of the Future. And we support and inspire future leaders and also support the robust STEM ecosystem and partners like everyone here today. We've invested $100,000 in the DonorsChoose.org program this year, supporting over 200 teachers in our community. And we believe in clean air. Thank you. We believe in a diverse and innovative STEM workforce. And so we believe in clean energy and also clean air. And that's why we're building 3,000 charging stations in and around our communities to support the 30,000 electric vehicle drivers in our region and to help reduce the carbon emissions. Our Champions for Clean Air program provides a $1,000 instant rebate at all of the dealerships in town for the teachers. So if you're in the market for an electric vehicle, an all-electric or plug-in hybrid, you can ask for the teacher discount, the Champions for Clean Air, and you can receive that for yourself or your family. As a San Diego Unified student my whole life, I'm honored to be here this morning to introduce our keynote speaker, who has made an indelible mark in my life. Before SDG&E, I spent 19 seasons with the San Diego Padres, starting as a part-time ticket seller and then as an intern in the entertainment department while going to school at San Diego State. Under his mentorship, I learned many things about career and life, his teachings about integrity and always opting to do the right thing, a strong work ethic which can only be taught by positive role models. Upon graduation, he believed in me, and he gave me my break in community relations nearly 2 decades ago. And for that, I'm forever grateful. Dr. Charles Steinberg is the licensed dentist, a Baltimore native, and the current president of the Pawtucket Red Sox, the AAA affiliate of the Boston Red Sox. He is regarded as one of baseball's pioneering executives, focusing on the fan experience in the park and in the community. He served in the front office for the San Diego Padres during the 1998 National League Championship season and was instrumental in the campaign of building Petco Park. And it's not just a ballpark, it's a ballpark for San Diego. His 40-plus year career in Major League Baseball started with an internship with the Baltimore Orioles, which changed the trajectory of his life. He has worked with the Baltimore Orioles, San Diego Padres, Los Angeles Dodgers, Commissioner Bud Selig, and has earned 6 championship rings. At each stop, he has been a philanthropic force for the community, starting such programs as the Padres Scholars, PawSox Scholars, In Debt to a Vet program, and the PawSox Mentoring Program. A teacher by nature, he has been affiliated with Emerson College since 2005. And in 2017, Emerson's director, he was named director of the Sports Communication Department. The college is among the first to offer the sports communication major. A renowned musician and songwriter, he was instrumental in the creation of Rick Dempsey's video performance of old-time rock and roll in Baltimore, the playing of Hell's Bells, heralding Hall of Famer Trevor Hoffman entrance in San Diego, and playing of Sweet Caroline in Boston, and the playing of Don't Stop Believing in Los Angeles. So please give a warm welcome to this visionary leader, Dr. Charles Steinberg.
Wow, I can't possibly live up to this. But New goes right to my heart, and I'm so proud of you, New, and so proud of what you did in the years we were together at the Padres, and then how you just continued, leaving a legacy that today's Padres follow. I know Wayne Partello is here somewhere from the Padres. Where's Wayne? Thank you for coming today, Wayne, and the role of a baseball club in the community is to be treasured. It has such power, such impact, and you can measure it on the big programs. But what the stories, and I have so many, I'm trying to think which ones to wedge in. To me, there's so much about the power of moments. And so for the educators and for the business people, I would make sure we don't feel intimidated by something that seems so big as this kind of program or that kind of program. It can just be one moment, and you can have such impact. All I think we all are trying to do is to help ensure that through transformation and through the great work that you all are doing, that we provide hope for children, that we fuel their beliefs, that we help them realize that time-worn adages like you can be anything you want have some basis in visible reality, so they see that it's true. Now, I couldn't have asked for a better, more comfortable, normal upbringing in Baltimore, just a normal, nice, middle-class family. My parents are gone now, but my dad was an orthodontist, and I think I was just like right out of the wonder years. It was just fine, and I loved baseball. Oh my gosh, the Baltimore Orioles were great every year. The players were heroes. They lived up to the heroism that we accorded. But you can't have a career in baseball. I mean, if you're a good baseball player, you can. But when you're a short, fat Jewish kid in Baltimore who gets 2 hits in 2 years of Little League, and both hits come in the second year, it's clear that you're not going to succeed Brooks Robinson at third base. So I remember telling a beloved cousin, he was a few years older than I was, and sadly he died young, but I remember saying, I want to be a play-by-play announcer. He said, Charles, you can't do that. You have to know somebody. And he loved me. I mean, he loved me, and he was a great athlete. But, we think we're protecting children by telling them to be realistic. Well, no. It depends on what your definition of realistic is. If your definition of realistic is that which you have seen occur, well, that's very limited. Realistic is perhaps better defined as that which has the capacity to occur, whether or not you've ever experienced it or not. So growing up, Baltimore City schools I went to, but boy, they were going downhill. It was very, very difficult as the late 60s turned into the early 70s. And my parents sacrificed an awful lot to get me into the best small college preparatory school Baltimore had. And what makes a school great? I could rattle off a list of things that were wonderful about this school, including the headmaster, Mr. Finney, who could identify you by name anywhere, anytime. You talk about accountability. And my mom came to pick me up one day, and I got in the car. She says, how did Mr. Finney know my name? He walked down and said, hi, Mrs. Steinberg, how are you? So there were so many things that were great about that school, Gilman School in Baltimore. But one of them was they recognized that at a college preparatory school, you were going to know by April 15th what college or colleges had accepted you and where you were going to go, which meant that the remaining month of school was going to be a jousting with senior slump. And to combat that, the school very innovatively, we hadn't invented the word internship yet, had a program called Encounter. And they said, choose something you want to go into when you're finished school, or choose something you'll never have a chance to do again, and we'll do our best to help set you up with this 1 month free experience, what we would later call an internship. Well, I had been exposed to my dad's office, and I liked orthodontia from what I had seen. I obviously was not going to treat patients as a high school senior. But yeah, I thought, no, I'll do something bold and adventurous. I'll work for another dentist, a friend of my dad. Pretty daring. I was going to work for Dr. Buddy Blumenthal, a pediatric dentist and a friend of the family, and thought that would be cool. And one day, a buddy of mine is walking down the hall, red hair, lanky guy, played first base on the baseball team, and he said, "Hey, Charlie, I heard they'll let us work for the Orioles." I thought, oh, my God. I never even knew that you could dream that dream. I didn't even know that that was something you could conceive of. Well, I've got my whole career ahead of me for dentistry. I've got 1 month to work for my beloved hometown team. And so Chris and I both worked there. Went there an hour early for the interview because we just wanted to be there. And then we start the internship, and they allow me to paste articles about the team in a scrapbook using rubber cement. It's a small room, a lot of rubber cement. I think I was just feeling good because I was at the Orioles, but who knows. They then let me stamp the names of players on actual slides, and then I got to drive the slides in an Orioles station wagon to the 3 television stations. I really thought that at 17 I had peaked. And maybe I had. It was awesome. Now, I was explaining to some folks last night who very warmly welcomed me that Chris, sadly, was afflicted with athletic ability, and therefore he was on the varsity baseball team and had to go to practice every day. I, however, could spend all my days and nights, however long they'd let me stay, at the Orioles. And when the month was over, that was it, except they said, could you stay on and help us from time to time during the season? They saw that I had no problem moving boxes of giveaway items to the gates on giveaway days. I'm like, yeah, sure. And then they would let me volunteer to sit in the press box during the game. It was amazing. I mean, how does this happen? How was I picked? Among the crowd when I was, 10 years old or 9 years old at opening day, 1968, and all the kids who had dreams. How was I picked to get this opportunity? Now, one day, in that summer, after high school, before starting college at the University of Maryland, I am volunteering, just happy to be there, happy to help. And, I'm the definition of the bottom. You couldn't be more bottom than I was. And I am the assistant to a gopher. So it's true. And we're sitting in the Orioles offices. And our job is to sit there and watch the game on a little black and white monitor not far from the switchboard operator. And if she needs us to run something somewhere, we do it. Okay? And we're watching, and in the middle of a game, this man comes in. And I guess he was old, because I was 17. He was probably in his 30s, And he comes in, kind of reddish blondish hair, and he's wearing like a London fog raincoat, and he very cheerfully says to the switchboard operator, "I'm sorry to bother you, ma'am." He said, "But I had an idea, and I just had to ask you about it." He said, "My wife and I are here at the ball game, And my wife is from Michigan, and because the Orioles are playing the Detroit Tigers, we wondered if there was the opportunity to get a message to the Tigers broadcaster, Ernie Harwell, so that perhaps he could say hello to my wife's family, who is assuredly watching on television. Now, I don't know anything. I'm 17, but I know this. You can't go give a message to a visiting broadcaster in the middle of a ball game. Betty Scala looks over at Phil Shear, the gopher, and me, assistant gopher, and says, we could do that. Wow. And he continues and says, but I must apologize to you. I've written the message, but all I had to write on was a pizza plate. And he pulls out a white disc that formerly was the base beneath a now eaten pizza. And there is his handwritten message. She said, that's fine. And Phil and I run up the ramps, go into the press box, wait till the third out of an inning, go into the visiting broadcast booth. I think I sang lead on this song. I explained to Mr. Harwell the story, and he looks up and goes, I'll try to get it in there. And I'm like, wow. I mean, first of all, I just met a future Hall of Famer, and I can't believe the Orioles said yes. No was so much easier. Yes has consequences. Yes has work. Wow. It taught me a lesson. It validated my belief in the Baltimore Orioles. So now I go on to start at the University of Maryland, thinking that maybe that's it for my baseball career. And I'm, still planning to be a dentist. At least I'm going to see if I like that. And so you're going to take not just biology, but they cleave it into zoology versus botany. And so I'm going to major in zoology and take chemistry and physics and calculus. And, you might as well just kill me now. But those are the courses that I have to take. Well, you get to take one elective, one additional course. Well, a friend of mine has a girlfriend a year older who was already at Maryland, and she was a pretty girl, so I therefore asked her what I should take. That's how it works when you're 17. And she said, oh, you want to take the social and cultural history of early America. Dr. Flack is a great teacher. Okay, fine. What do I know or what do I care about the social and cultural history of early America? But fine. She said, take it. I took it. And it's a small class. It's an honors class, only about 20 people. And we gather around, and he says, because this is an honors class and a small class, I would like to meet with each of you. I'd like each of you to come and have a chat with me so I can get to know you better. So I show up at my appointed time, all happy and bouncy as a college freshman, and it takes about 30 seconds as he starts to ask me about myself for me to say, and I had an internship with the Baltimore Orioles, And he goes, the Orioles. He says, well, living in Washington, I'm not an Orioles fan. He said, but I do have a fondness for the Orioles. He said, they did something nice once. He said, this summer I was at a ball game with my wife, and my wife is from Michigan. And I had this crazy idea that maybe we could get a message to the Tigers announcer. He said, and all I had to write on was, and I say, a pizza plate. He said, how do you know that? I said, I'm the one who delivered the pizza plate. Oh, my God. I took the social and cultural history of early America. I took the social and cultural history of modern America. I took the history of Washington, D.C. I would have taken the history of basket weaving if Dr. Flack had taught it, because it turns out he wasn't a professor. He was an actual person. Who knew? Who knew that you could break down that barrier and discover a person? On my phone right now, in a collection of emails that numbers in the thousands, I have an email. On November 5th of 2015, I was named president of the Pawtucket Red Sox after many years as executive vice president of the Boston Red Sox. November 6th, I got an email. From pizza plate to president, congratulations from all the Flacks. Okay, this was a while back. Isn't that amazing? You talk about pathways. You talk about the classroom of the future. You're speaking of exactly the right thing, the necessary thing. It's getting out of the assembly line concept and recognizing the humanness that binds us all, that connects us all. Well, as I went along and became, I was going through college and still working for the Orioles. They kept asking me back every summer. I thought each summer was the last. I'm a little slow to catch on. And then I get into dental school, and I continue to work at the Orioles, and I think, I know, I'll be the team dentist. So I graduate from dental school, and I made my presentation, and they said yes. So I've got the players coming to see me. You know, there's Eddie Murray, and there's first Cal Ripken's sister before Cal, and it was just amazing. Jim Palmer. They still go to the office, but the baseball work was so fun. It was so inspiring. I liked the dentistry just fine, and I thought I was going to be weaning myself off of the dentistry or weaning myself off of baseball and weaning myself onto the dentistry. But the Orioles work kept going, and I thought, I just went through 20 years of school, 8 years of college to become a dentist, but I also did it to become my own boss. Let's just see how far this baseball thing goes. Well, it kept going and going. So when I had the opportunity, because the work was expanding, and now I had titles and everything like that, head of ballpark entertainment, public relations, community relations, you name it, and it was just unbelievable. Well, unbelievable. In other words, I didn't know you could believe in this dream. Well, then there's the opportunity that I was committed to always make sure that I had interns. You must do for others as was done for you, and if you can, even expand it. One day, I get a resume from our head of human resources, and it's a well-written cover letter and a good resume. And the writing mattered because writing matters, because spelling matters. And one of the reasons, and I thank you, Gary, for saying that, one of the reasons it matters is that when your club has been owned by a Washington attorney, Edward Bennett Williams, well, attorneys make their living on distinguishing between commas and semicolons. And when his protege, Larry Lucchino, also a brilliant attorney who has the best command of English I can imagine, well, you better protect your little chickens, because if a memo gets before their eyes that has any problems with spelling, punctuation, or grammar, they're going to be diminished. The person's going to be diminished in their eyes. There's not going to be the same confidence and faith that this person is going to be on a track of ascent. And I had found that I was really playing the role of resident English teacher, and I'm correcting papers before they go out from my area. And here's this well-written letter and nicely done resume, and it just stood out. And I liked that he was already writing for his school newspaper in his first year of college. And I thought, gosh, maybe I won't have to proofread his papers. Maybe he'll even help me proofread the ones I have to proofread. And I called him. I said, "You're interested in an internship?" He goes, "Yeah." And he wasn't from Baltimore, so I was surprised. He flew down. He was at Yale, and it's a good school. I realized that. And he comes in, and the depth of baseball knowledge is like bedrock. But the oral communication skills are also solid. And I've already seen the written communication skills. And grammar, punctuation, and spelling are the reason that I hired him. That was the reason. Nobody else was in the room. And by giving that opportunity to 18-year-old Theo Epstein, it changed the course of baseball history. As he was my intern in 92, 3, and 4 in Baltimore, and as Larry Lucchino said, "Would you like to come out to San Diego?" And I said to Theo, "You want me to set you up with the Orioles for an internship in your 4th year?" He goes, "No, I want to go with you guys out to San Diego." And so we packed him in our proverbial station wagon, brought him out here, and I had the condition that he had to also get a law degree. And I don't want to go to law school. I said, yep, you need a law degree. He said, why? I said, because you're going to be a general manager someday. It's going to drive you crazy if you're dependent on your lawyer for negotiating contracts. Then you're going to be the president of a club someday, and it's going to drive you crazy if you're dependent on your chief legal officer. And then you got an outside shot 30 years from now of being commissioner of baseball, and you're going to be all proud of your Yale undergraduate degree, except baseball is now selecting for the educated. And I rattled off a list of people with terminal degrees. And you're not going to want to lose the job to some bright Harvard law guy. The new commissioner is a Harvard law guy. I said this in 1995. You're going to want that law degree. And we had this amazing time here in San Diego. Just, I can't imagine a happier 7 years than we had here. And then Larry says, we're moving to Boston. Like, really? I'm living in La Jolla. We're moving to Boston. Well, we go, and because of that law degree, Larry was willing to take the chance on a 28-year-old and making him the youngest general manager in the history of baseball. And in 2004, this Brookline native is the hero of a city as we win the World Series the first time in 86 years. And then we win again 3 years later. And then I leave and go to the Los Angeles Dodgers because I missed the West Coast, and I fully recognize the differences between LA and San Diego. But I rented in LA, but I rebought here. So thank you for bringing me home. But that was that. You know, then Theo went to Chicago and won the World Series, first time since 1908, and he's destined for the Hall of Fame. Let's see, I had that talk with him in 1995. About 30 years from now, you have an outside shot at being commissioner. Clock's still ticking. Let's see how it goes. This is the power of internships. This is the power of immersion. This is the power of recognizing that there is not a difference. There is not some factory of education and some factory of career life. It is all one. And for me, to now be able to teach at Emerson College, I tell the students, I'm here from the future. I'm here to tell you why I hire the people I do and why I don't hire the people I don't. And the students tell me that I've gained a reputation as, oh, he's a real stickler for grammar. I'll take that. You know, I remember the guy who spelled liaison wrong twice in the cover letter, and Theo liked him and wanted us to hire him. I'll give him an internship for you, but no. That same kind of, you know, look, in your cover letter, in your resume, that's one time things ought to be perfect. You have time to really hone them. You have people you can show them to. And if you're going to show me that your best is that, it's not going to get better. And at the major league level or AAA level, I want to nurture you, but you've got to have some solid skills that you've acquired coming in. It's too competitive. I adore the interns that we hire. Now I pluck those interns from not just from Emerson, but in the class. I'm like, okay, I want you. Well, imagine how cool it is to not have to say, oh, how am I going to possibly get an internship? No, the professor actually just took me by the back of the neck and said, your career's begun. The other day, there was a 16-year-old boy whose mom I work with. She's with the city of Worcester, where we're going to build a new ballpark, God willing. And the 16-year-old boy says, here, you have him. So I said, all right, let's go. And we start setting up chairs for a big event. And I said, now, what do you want to do? Well, I'm still thinking about what I want to do. I said, well, do you like baseball? Oh, I love baseball. I mean, a career in baseball would be the ultimate. I said, well, then consider this day one of your career, because you're doing on day one what you do on day one, setting up chairs. I said, now, I've been blessed to do this for 42 years, and I'm setting up chairs. What you discover is it's not substitutive as you go up. It's additive. in my office, I've got all these press clips that still need to be pasted into a scrapbook. You don't rise up and forego that which you did. You just keep doing more and more and more. And if you're lucky, you get to teach others to do it. All right. The last piece I'll tell you. We got to Boston in 2002, and it couldn't have been more different from San Diego. Everything in Boston is different from San Diego. San Diego's placid and calm and beautiful, and the weather's great, and the streets are wide, and you get to Boston, and everything is cold or hot. We love you, we hate you. Everything's extremes. And let me tell you, there was a bit of a transition to move from La Jolla to Boston. And at the end of our second year, in November of 2003, November is the worst month of the baseball season, especially in Boston. Not only had the Yankees won the pennant the month before, but November's cold and gray and raw and thick, billowy clouds. And I am stuck in a subterranean conference room in a budget meeting. I mean, how much worse can it get than that? And I'm sitting across the three guys from the accounting firing squad who are going to challenge me on why I want to spend the money I want to spend next year. Charles, do you really need $20,000 for our annual winter caravans? Well, we bring ball players in the winter, and we go around to every state in New England, and we foster player-fan communication, and you know, it's goodwill, it's good business, it's just good. You know, I'm still 10 years old. And he said, after all, we've sold out every game since May 15th of this year, and we're likely to sell out every game this coming year. Do we really need to spend that money? I said, no, we don't. Knock yourself out. Pat yourself on the back. Go home and have dinner and say, I saved us $20,000. But don't think that the fans won't notice. Don't think that they won't get the hint of pullback. Don't think that they won't realize that you are sowing the deadly seeds of arrogance. And then I got more animated. And Larry Lucchino, who's sitting as the judge of this, okay, you made your point. We'll still do the caravan. So the third week of January 2004, we get on a bus at Fenway Park on a cold, gray January day. Three ball players, Jason Varitek, Bill Miller, Kevin Millar. And we go with our community relations folks, some of whom had worked with New. Vanessa was in charge of community relations. And we get on the bus, and we've got, the stadium operations people, and we have a doubleheader. We got to be in a place called Warwick, Rhode Island by lunchtime, and then we have to be in Connecticut by nightfall. So we get to Rhode Island at our appointed time. We go in the mall. We set up the table and the chairs and the pipe and the draping, and the ball players are seated at the table, and it's a Wednesday at noon, and the line is snaking through the mall like you wouldn't believe. Well, Vanessa gets worried. She knows me. I don't want to leave till we've taken care of everybody. I mean, the only thing worse than not doing a caravan is doing a caravan and then making people unhappy. I mean, I can't have any crying kids. Okay, let's improvise. Let's pull the kids out and have them form a line. Make sure you take care of the children. Always take care of the children. Okay, we do that. That line is long. This is a school day. Why are these kids in school? It's still going to be too long. What are we going to do? Okay, let's improvise again. We'll take Bill Miller, mark the end of the line. He'll start meeting kids going from back to forward, and we'll reach an intersection where everybody has met somebody. Okay? And that's what we do, and that's what we did, and all the kids are taken care of, and they take down the pipe and the draping and the table and the chairs, and the ball players are whisked off to the bus. Why is that kid crying? And over there is this little pudgy 11-year-old with tears coming down his Norman Rockwell cheeks, wearing a Jason Varitek jersey. And I go over to him, I said, what's the matter? And he said, I got out of school today to meet Jason Veritek. I said, and you only met Bill Miller? He goes, mm-hmm. He said, I'm a catcher like he is. And I thought, I knew that. Same body type. So I put my arm around him. You want baseball to teach the lessons of life. That's what you want. That's this whole point. You want kids to learn about the business world at a young age. He's 11. Well, the lesson of life in Boston is life's unfair. They're going to break your heart. You better get used to it. I've been waiting all my life to see them win. They're just going to break your heart, kid. But I'm not from Boston. I'm from Baltimore, a happy little city. And so I put my arm around him, and I said, you just come with me. That bus isn't leaving without me. And we walk through the mall, and we walk out the door. His mother's chasing us, like, what are you doing with my kid? And I take him onto the bus. Mother's chasing us. He meets Jason Veritek, who graciously signs his jersey. He meets Kevin Millar. He reacquaints himself with Bill Miller. Mom is taking pictures. And off they go, and off we go, and we make it to Connecticut in time. And, maybe my heart went out to him because I could relate to him, but, maybe it's just recognizing these powers of moments. And you do it, and I didn't know his name, and off they went. 2 years later, it's April of 2006, I'm in a conference room. It's called the Red Conference Room because the chairs are red. Very creative. My cell phone rings, and it's my buddy who worked here with me at the San Diego Padres, Sam Kennedy, and Sam's in charge of corporate partnerships. And he calls, like, hey, what do you need? He said, are you here? I said, yeah, I'm in the Red Conference Room. He said, can you come over to the Green Conference Room? Green chairs. I said, yeah. I walk in, and there's Sam, who's an animated, happy guy, but he's a little nervous, a little fidgety. And there are these three men sitting there at the table in dark suits, very handsome, out of central casting for business executives. Salt and pepper hair, very coiffed. I said, what's up? He goes, these gentlemen are here from Gulf Oil. And we are trying to sign them to a very lucrative deal to put their logo on the green monster in foul territory. And they are reluctant to sign unless they meet you. I said, well, I'm very flattered. I said, but I'm not David Ortiz. And the one in the middle goes, no, but let me tell you who I think you are. He said, 2 years ago, the Red Sox had a caravan to Warwick, Rhode Island. I said, that's right. He said, and there was a little boy. And I said, wearing a Veritek jersey. And he said, that was my son. He said, you changed his life. You changed his life. He said, self-esteem can be so vulnerable for anyone, especially when you're 11 years old. He said, my son went into school the next day, and he was the star of the class. He was the king of the hill. He had the Veritek jersey. He had the pictures. You changed his life. He said, there's nothing I wouldn't do for the Red Sox. I wanted to meet the people who changed his life. You're like, wow, this is real. A year later, at the end of the next year, at the end of 2007, I moved to Los Angeles. Enjoyed 2 years there. Then the commissioner of baseball asked me to work for him. So I became the first person in history to move from Malibu to Milwaukee. But the opportunity was good. After all, you're working for the commissioner of baseball. I get it. Fine. Okay. And then in Boston, the Red Sox were going to be celebrating the 100th anniversary of Fenway Park in 2012. Well, Larry Lucchino missed me, and he lobbied the commissioner and said, can we have Charles back? And the commissioner said, yeah, I think he got a broken bat in return for me. And I arrived in Boston in March of 2012, and Larry's happy to be back with me, and I'm happy to be back with him. We were apart for 4 years. And he said, you've got to see this documentary that I've just had made. A friend of mine does PBS, National Geographic documentaries. We made one on Fenway Park. And I said, fine, whatever. And he said, oh, and it cost a fortune. Oh, my God. I said, how'd you get it paid for? He said, we got it underwritten. So he's driving me, and I haven't been with him for 4 years. He's driving me to one of these Boston suburbs, and we get to some building, a glass and steel generic office building. We get out of the car. We're catching up on all things about our lives. And we're walking in. I said, by the way, why are we here? He goes, this is the underwriter. I said, oh, who was it? And as he opens the door, he says, Gulf Oil. And as we open the next door, Charles, welcome back to the Red Sox. You know, my son's followed your career. He's never forgotten you. 1 year later, I'm sitting at my desk at Fenway Park, and our head of HR sends out an email with little pictures and thumbnails of this year's summer intern class. And for each one, they say what their favorite Red Sox moment was. And at that age, in 2013, it's winning the 2004 World Series. When the Red Sox won the 2004 World Series. Loved when the Red Sox won the 2004 World Series. When I was a little boy, the Red Sox had a caravan to Warwick, Rhode Island. I'm like, oh my God. And in comes this little boy, now slender, not a little boy anymore. He's a student at Quinnipiac in Connecticut. And I mean, I had tears in my eyes. And we shared the story, and we recalled that day. And he pulled out an envelope. He said, I've been carrying these pictures around for the day that I would meet you. I knew it would happen someday. And he took out the pictures from the day that his mother took those pictures. And my little guy, Rob Derry, then was an intern at the Red Sox for several years, and it's launched his career in sports management. So all I can tell you is it just matters. The slightest touch, the most tiny piece of encouragement, just a one-day opportunity, a one-hour opportunity. Groundhog Day. The groundhog sees his shadows. So we see our shadows. We bring in students and they shadow us. Why not? You know, maybe it makes an impression on one child. Maybe they learn something. Maybe they learn that spelling matters. We'll call that a good day. And that's what you all are doing every day. I work in the toy department of life. You know, Boston Red Sox, Pawtucket Red Sox, going to be the Worcester Red Sox, whatever. With a big piece of my heart still in San Diego. So thank you for inviting me back. Thank you for letting me share the stories. Congratulations to you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, too bad Charles isn't too inspiring. Phenomenal, and hopefully he's going to stick around for a little bit over here. So I know we're running just a tad late, but we're going to bring up our panel right now. So if the first panel can come up and sit at these chairs over here, we're going to catch up on the program. So Charles Parisi, please come on up. Jenna Cazares, Wendy Mejia, Joy Suber, and Scott Sibley. And the first panel is going to be chatting about parents and students and internships and all that business. Do we need to do a mic check, or are we all set? I'm getting okay, we're getting a thumbs up over here. All right, so we're going to start at the very end over here. If you could say your name and about 1 minute about yourself, and we'll go down for all five, and then we'll get into some questions, all right? We'll start with you down there.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Wendy Mejia. I currently work for Rady Children's Hospital with the Safe Routes to School program. I attended Hoover High School and participated in the Faces for the Future program.
My name is Charles Parisi, and Drew had asked me to join here today as the parent member on the panel, which is, of course, I think the most important job any of us have. And I think part of the reason he asked me is I'm a product of an inner city public education. I like to tell people I grew up on a New York City housing project on welfare, single-family household. And so I've gone through the public education system. My daughter is a graduate of public education here in San Diego. I was also a founding board member of an entrepreneurship-focused high school here in San Diego. And I was also a board member for a school in conjunction with San Diego County Office of Education for homeless and runaway teens. And just one other thing I want to mention, lifelong Yankee fan, I want to congratulate Dr. Steinberg on the 2018 Red Sox. And it's not easy for me to say that.
Wow. I'm Joyce Suber. I am retired, a retired educator. I retired with the San Diego County Office of Education as the AVID Regional Director. And I'm very proud of that. I had the awesome experience of working with Dr. Charles Steinberg with the beginning and the end of the San Diego Padre Scholars Program, and I currently work as a consultant with several other programs, including AVID Scholars, Classroom of the Future Foundation, the Simon Foundation, and a few others. My beginnings, very similar. I started out in a little area of Los Angeles. I went to school in Watts, and then we moved up in the world. We moved to Compton, and I'm a graduate of Compton High School. And then I went on to the local four-year college because my mom said good girls don't go away to school. So I had that traditional kind of background. So I went to CSU Dominguez Hills, and then I ran to graduate school, Washington State, and graduated from there. I've got two children who went through public schools here in San Diego. They're very successful as well. I have two grandchildren, so I'm a grandmother, so I have that perspective as well. And they've been brainwashed. They are fans. They are U of A, Wildcat fans, because of their father, of course. And my daughter is a graduate of the University of San Diego, and so she barely gets a chance to get in any information about USD. But I have those experiences, and I feel like I'm the most blessed person ever, because I've had such experience, such moments, as Charles has mentioned, that really make life a different kind of scenario, considering where I came from, especially.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Jenna Cazares. I'm currently a senior at Kearney High School, and I'm in the Small School Engineering, Innovation, and Design.
Scott?
Hi, Scott Sibley from Journeys Map, and really when I think about my career pathway, I can tie it back to Charles's speech. As many in the room know, I'm a lifelong Padre fan, but really a lot of the skills I learned were from baseball that I use today to most prominently are really mentorship and failure. Baseball is really a game around failure, and growing up, every summer I'd go to this Tony Gwynn School of Baseball. There's your mentor right there, and you really couldn't have a better one. And so whether it's mentorship, failure, or any other skill, really, they travel with you for a lifetime, and it's great to hear those stories of connecting them back today.
That's great. All right, we're going to start with you, Wendy. Talk a little about your transformational college and career pathways experience at Hoover High School. How did it help you, and would you recommend that to others?
So I attended Hoover High School, which is in City Heights, a very underserved community. Hoover High School has a rough reputation, especially when I was growing up. I graduated in 2011, so not too long ago. And at the time, I was a freshman and coming sophomore, and they had an application process for a program called Faces for the Future. I was an athlete at the time, so I was interested in sciences and just, working with athletes in general. And we got the opportunity to apply for this program. It was a pilot program, so I didn't know where it was going to take me at the time. And I applied, got in, kind of went into it without really knowing what I was going to gain from it. But I took advantage of the program. I went through it for my sophomore, junior, and senior years. And at the time, we were a small group, about 30 students, and I was also involved on campus with sports and then with other educational programs like Upper Bound, College Avenue Compact, so I was a well-rounded student. And I knew I wanted to go to college and get a degree in some form of kinesiology. And Faces for the Future actually provided me the science background to get more knowledge of whether or not this is actually a career pathway that I wanted to take. And the amazing thing about this program is that it allowed us to become interns at Rady Children's Hospital. And you don't really see 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds at the hospital unless you're actually sick, right? So for me, it was a little strange. I wasn't sure how to behave. I knew I had to be on my best behavior, but I didn't have the professional skills to really interact with these doctors and nurses and practitioners. And the really great thing about this program is that they try to put you in departments that you actually are genuinely interested in. So I was able to go into surgery and see someone get their appendix removed. I was able to follow a physical therapist and actually learn the process to become a physical therapist, because that was something that I was considering at the time. I got to follow around a lab technician, going into patients' rooms and draw blood. And at that time, I knew, okay, I'm not gonna draw blood at all. So I knew I was very well-rounded when it came to connecting with people of my age. And I wanted to stay in the route of becoming and working with athletes. So when I applied to San Diego State, I got into the athletic program, realized that I didn't like chemistry, so I decided to change my emphasis into fitness specialist and finished my degree at SDSU, but I honestly didn't think I was gonna follow through with that, because I also, at the time, loved makeup, so I was thinking cosmetology school. And I knew, I was like, I'm not gonna get a job in cosmetology, so I have to be more practical. And if I didn't have the experience with the Faces for the Future program, then I would have not followed my degree into kinesiology. And the Faces for the Future program was introduced by Sherry Fiddler, who works for the Center for Healthy Communities at Rady Children's Hospital. And now I actually work for them. So how I came about that, I don't know if I'm going over my time.
All right, we got a few more seconds here.
Okay. So one day, Sherry Fiddler invited me to this physicians conference, and I went ahead and attended. I didn't know exactly what I was getting myself into, but I decided to attend that conference. There I met my current director, Mary Beth Moran. At the time, she had a table for injury prevention, and I was helping out with the Faces for the Future program, just kind of introducing myself as a former student. I consider myself a guinea pig because it was a pilot program, so they didn't know where the program was gonna go. And I told Sherry that my plan, I was about to graduate from SDSU, my plan was to leave to Arizona for Teach for America to get some training to become a teacher. And the next day I get a voicemail from Sherry saying, hey, I have a position for you. Do you want it? So I called back and I'm like, yes, I do want it. It was an internship position, so I wasn't really getting paid. But I went ahead and decided to not do Teach for America and go back and work for Sherry and be part of the Faces for the Future and the center. So here I am, full circle.
No, that's great. Round of applause. All right, Jenna, in a couple minutes, talk about your experience. That's you?
Yeah. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Just talk about your experience in school and how it prepared you for college, and will prepare you for college, I should say.
Well, when I go to college, I plan on majoring in civil engineering and architecture, so my school is based a lot on engineering, all types, to kind of introduce us into, different types of engineering and find things that we like. There are a few projects that we've done each year that revolve around different types of engineering. One in particular that we did was we redesigned a building in Liberty Station to repurpose it as a veteran center for homeless veterans who needed a place to stay, who needed help with healthcare and things like that. So we used the architecture program Revit to design the building, and in all of our classes, they talk to us about what veterans have been through, so we know a little bit of the background, so we know how to help care for them and things like that. And another project that we did was in my freshman year, I believe. We made a Kearney climate plan, which was to help conserve energy and try and find ways to use green technology to save energy and things like that. And we competed in a competition, which my small school EID won out of a large group of schools. I think it's definitely prepared me for college. It's made me better in situations like these where I'm talking in front of large audiences.
You're doing a great job. But by the way, Charles is going to need some engineers to build that new ballpark at Worcester. Is that correct? Yes. Very good over here. So I got you a job. All right. So Charles, nicely done, Jenna. Charles, from a parent's perspective.
Thanks. Thank you, Drew. And I know I'm going to try to keep it short. Couple of thoughts, and I just want to echo, I'm sure many of us in the room are parents, and that's the perspective I come from. I think parent is the primary educator in the life of a young person, and the home is the first classroom. And it can always remain that way. A couple of thoughts. I want to echo something that Dr. Steinberg mentioned, and Gary as well. At the end of my daughter's 4 years of high school, and I was lucky enough, some folks in this room know my daughter, and I asked her, so tell me, which teacher had the greatest impact on you during the 4 years? Because I was lucky enough, she'd never had a B. I kept telling her I want to throw her a B party, and all the food, everything's going to be something with a B. I never got to that B party because she had straight A's. But I said, well, who had the greatest impact? And she said, okay, good question, let me think about that. And I was happy that she had to pause and think about it. And her answer was her 9th grade English teacher. And I remember her complaining quite a bit about her 9th grade English teacher because she was so demanding. Dad, she was so particular about the comma, everything. And she had on-demand essays. You'd have to come in and write an essay. You had no idea what the subject was. And she was very, very demanding and tough on them. She said, but Dad, that's how I learned how to write. So 4 years of high school, lots of different classes, lots of AP classes. She chose her 9th grade English teacher. So I'm going to make a comment that I know Drew and Peter have heard me say many times. Hopefully it won't get me disinvited from lunch, because I would like to eat lunch today. I believe, and I know there's a tremendous push on STEM and math and all those wonderful things. You can have a fantastic life, be extraordinarily successful, and not be good at math or science. You cannot have a great life in this country, or probably any country. You cannot be successful unless you read, write, and communicate extremely well. So I know there's a tremendous push about STEM in this country. I'm not making a comment one way or another, although I probably do have a comment or two. I believe it's like building and Peter's heard me say this. You know, you could go anywhere in the world, like if you're going to build a new stadium. It starts off with raw dirt, and you pave it out, you grade it, you pour some concrete. You still have no idea what it's going to be. It could be a stadium, could be a hotel, could be a shopping center, could be an apartment complex, could be a condo development, but it's a foundation. And I believe reading, writing, communicating is that foundation that really is the key to a truly, truly successful life. All these other elements are extraordinarily important. I love math and science. It's my personal love, is science. But I just believe, you know, I always talk to my daughter because she's always, I think, the customer. She's the client. And that 9th grade English teacher, and I never forget it because I communicated. So when I was involved in, you know, starting this other high school, I really focused on who teaches 9th grade English. Tell me about them. Because I was listening to the voice of the customer and my daughter as the client, saying, hey, make sure we've got 9th grade math and English off to a great, great start. So a couple of things I'll just share because I tried to make notes so that I wouldn't go over my time, because then Drew and Peter won't ever invite me back to speak anywhere. A couple things. Same thing I tried to drill into my daughter's head, which is one, I think all great parents know I'm not trying to be your best friend. I'm trying to make sure you have a great life. And so one, coaching, as opposed to trying to be your best friend, was really important to me. And what I always spoke about, and the acronym for our school was ACE, Accountability, Character, Excellence. You know, own your own outcomes. Let's not have excuses. You know, take tremendous pride. I tell you, there's two things you control. One, having tremendous pride in your work, and the willingness to work hard to get that pride level and to get those results that are going to make you proud. So accountability, character, excellence. And excellence for us was always a little acronym. I'm known as the acronym junkie around town, I guess. GENI, good enough never is. If it's good enough, it's time to get back to work and do some more work. Because either it's your best work or it isn't. So I always talk about mindset and really trying to drive mindsets as high as possible for my daughter and other students I've been lucky enough to be around. And that's high expectations. And I will share that one of the other things I've learned recently from not only being a parent, but in the world of public education, I never really thought that high expectations should have any subjectivity to it. So I'm just going to share that I think sometimes there's a little too much subjectivity to something called high expectations. It shouldn't be subjective. We should all, everyone should know, from elementary school to high school to parents to employers and corporate partners, we should all know what it is we're striving to achieve and attain. There should be not any subjectivity to high expectations. Drew, should I think
that'll do it for right now, but that's fine. And we will invite you back. Okay, absolutely. Scott, let me ask you this, then we'll jump back to Joyce, and then if we have a chance for a question or two, that'd be fine. By the way, to let you know, we're going to start the panel on the other breakouts at 11:10. We'll start at 11:10, so we'll have a 10-minute break to the rest of them get something to eat and all that business. So 11:10, we'll start that. Scott, talk about Journeys team and what you folks are doing, maybe just a 1-minute description of Journeys.
Sure. So as many in the room know, as we've kind of held you captive down the street and gotten a chance to see Journeys over the year, a lot of the work is centered around the activity, around career exploration, exploring based on your interests, seeing where you want to go, and being able to use that map that we've created as a canvas, essentially, where it can be that input from that leader that you've met in the just walking down the street, or just research that's out there. It can become that canvas to plug in different data points, different pieces of assets, and have it become discoverable and relevant when that individual wants to find it. Because it's so important. If I'm not interested in something, it doesn't matter how great that resource is. I'm not going to be engaged and want to explore further. So a lot of our motto is around career exploration, engagement, and making sure that individual is the center stone around everything we're creating. So that's a short story to save some time.
And you had some students that have been using it, correct?
Exactly. So some in the room here of our early adopters over the past 15 months, and we thank you for that. Going back to my comment around learning from failure, we knew it was going to be a process where we wanted to engage with those users, hear what we were doing right, and just as importantly, doing wrong, so we could then turn things around and get it in our next release cycle, change things to make sure we're meeting your needs and growing together.
That's great. Joyce, got about a minute and a half over here. So you're a parent, an educator, you pick a topic. You're one, you wear a lot of hats, and they're all cool hats over here. What are your thoughts on this college and career pathway?
Well, I think this is something that is really, really needed. In growing up, my father had a fifth grade education. He fought in the big one. That would be World War II, according to him. And with that fifth grade education, he was a custodian. And on special occasions, he would take us, my sisters and I have 3 sisters, and he would take us to work with him, and we would help him to clean. And where my mother always told us, you're going to college, you're going to college, you're going to college, never knew how or even why. But my father gave us a glint, just a hint of why. Because he would always tell me, well, you don't really have to go to college, you can always do this. Clean? I like living in clean homes and things of this sort, but I didn't like cleaning. Especially, he would give me the chore of going to the women's restroom to clean up. So I knew that I had to go to college. And it might be kind of, different perspective there. But that perspective was very strong in my mind, like hurry up and get to college. and finish so that you can do something else. When I got there, I was able to figure that out. But looking at the children that I've had experiences with, so for example, the Padre Scholars, we had a program within the Padre Scholars where they would shadow office staff. Remember that new? They would come to the office and they were assigned, that once they were selected as a Padre Scholars, they were assigned to work with and shadow for a day or part of a day an office worker, someone on staff. I mean, we had one scholar who sat in on negotiations, salary and even hiring, and you know, they just didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to think. Scholars were there when the name was revealed for the new stadium, Petco Park. We were all shocked. I think that was a group from National City, from Granger Middle School, and they had that opportunity. When the stadium was built, every year they toured the grounds. We wore the hard hats and we were taken around, and so they would see what the concept would be. They actually began to build relationships with being a Padre Scholar. It wasn't just a name. It wasn't just that they were going to be given some money. And so it was more than that. And I think when children have the opportunity to build relationships, especially career-oriented or even college-oriented, that makes a difference. Another program, the Simon Foundation, I don't know how many of you are from North County. If you are, you probably are familiar with the Simon Foundation. Another scholarship program, but this one also includes mentoring and working with the entire school staff. We select groups of students per school, and those students are together during their junior and senior year. They're selected at the end of their sophomore year, and they are mentored. They work with these students on their SAT, ACT exams. They give them computers to work with. They have workshops. They have summer camps and training. And so they get to know the scholars. They build and forge relationships that help direct them in their college and career path. And that is ultimately something that makes such a difference with them. In Abbott, we had a study, and I was a part of this study, and we wanted to find out more about the trajectory of African American males, especially those who weren't doing well. And so we had school sites. I was assigned 2 schools, one in Fresno and one in Bakersfield. And we had a hard time finding African American males. We had a hard time finding them, so we had to drop the quote, profile, the standards. So instead of being that average student, many of them academically were far below average, far below. But they were African American, so they were a part of the study. You know, once you get that grant, you have to follow the guidelines, or you're supposed to. I'm not good at following all the rules. But the end result was that these young men, many of whom had no idea that college was even a possibility, coming from extreme poverty and coming from single-parent homes and coming from places where they were very familiar with the other side of the law. As it turned out, the outcome, similar to that of the Padre Scholars, is that they were very successful. Yes, no, maybe they didn't go straight to the four-year college, but they went to college, but they went to a pathway like the military. They went to somewhere other than prison. And so many of them had relatives who were in that trajectory where they had fathers or brothers or neighbors who were in prison. Now their story was different. And so I think that the building of relationships, having internships, having jobs while in school really helps students to build their pathway, to find their pathway, to discover who they can be, and be something that they are themselves proud of, and their parents and the entire community is changed because of that. And do I have another minute left?
Unfortunately, you don't. But I'd like to give a big round of applause to the panel. We need to get to the sessions over here. I want to thank all of the speakers, all of the sponsors. Let's get another big round of applause to Dr. Charles Steinberg. So we'll take a little bit of a break over here. We want to start those other rooms at about 11:10, maybe 11:11 or 11:12 over here. There'll be a session in this room and then also one in 133 and 131. Thank you very much.